Holy, I'll shower you with coconut cream pies, Batman! Tiki here, and I have been watching through each and every episode of Batman Beyond for the first time. Dragon, tell them why we're here.
Well, you see, folks, long ago I made a vow to educate Tiki in the ways of Batman the Animated Series, serving as his spirit guide to Gotham in a way. But that was the past, and we must now enter the Batman's future.
Tonight we're talking Season 3, Episode 6, Speak No Evil. Dragon, I don't know, man. This one was not good. Just pretty simply, it was not good. I really didn't like this one. I really didn't think it came together. It had approximately two good elements to it. The first one was honestly right at the beginning with the whole library thing. It was like, oh wow, okay, this show really predicted the kind of the digital versus physical media thing. But that went on for like a couple lines, and that's about it, right? And then I will say I like the idea behind this villain. I like the idea of like a guy who poses as like, a conservation guy, but he's actually evil. But in execution, beyond just his design, which I thought was a good design, it wasn't great. Honestly, I feel like this episode just has a lot of like minor technical issues with it too. I thought the soundtrack was the sound mixing was bad. The soundtrack, I don't know, man. Overall, this is definitely on the weaker side of Batman Beyond episodes, just in general for me. I really did not respond to this one.
Okay. All right, so the little context on this one. So the director, Dan Reba, good old Dan Reba. He, of course, man behind episodes such as Earth Mover and Sneak Peek, some really good episodes.
No, that's the thing. We have a really good director, really good writer, Berkowitz. So I was surprised that I didn't like this.
Writer Stan Berkowitz, writer from Burke. Of course, behind Sneak Peek and Earth. So that's like he and Reba worked together on things too. So these guys are kind of a duo, Earth Mover and Sneak Peek, as well as, of course, one of our favorites, at least one of my favorites, April Moon, or say it like it was in the episode, April Moon.
April Moon was really good. That was like very notably a really good episode for sure.
No one ever talks about April Moon. I love April Moon.
It honestly is probably in my top 5 if we were to go back and rank all the Batman Beyond episodes.
Anyway, studio that worked on this. Tiki,
oh my god,
brace yourself. Okay? It was very appropriately for the theme of this episode. It was Coco, the sign language animation studio.
Oh god.
And a little bit of Dong Yang.
Yep.
All right, so not a whole lot of background on this one. Just this is very much. I mean, I know he wasn't directly involved in the writing and directing of this episode, but James Tucker was around, and he very much was shown the ropes on Batman Beyond. Then he basically was one of the showrunners on Justice League, and of course, ultimately, then Batman: Brave and the Bold. So James Tucker, as we've kind of established, James Tucker very much kind of a guy legitimizing the Silver Age. That was kind of his big in. Basically, he was given a lot of very Silver Age kind of premises.
It doesn't get much more Silver Age than this.
So that's what I'm getting. Even though James Tucker, his name isn't quite on the episode in the ways that we look for, it does feel perhaps like Tucker might have been in the room, and just I don't know. It feels like it was kind of a vibe that permeated season 3 in places. Because we have like Ace in the Hole at the end of 2. And then we have Egg, as well as we have Egg Baby.
Dragon. That's another thing I was going to ask. This feels like an Egg Baby style Emmy episode in the way that described it.
So that's kind of Emmy bait. Emmy bait is what you're looking for, yeah.
Right, yeah.
So that's the thing. It feels a little bit like in the vein of that, where it feels like we have a very it feels like we have an episode where it feels like it's almost like the convention of like every show ever. You're gonna have the Egg Baby episode where it's it's the if you have a school with young characters, they're going to be given like the egg or the sack of flour, or the other thing you're going to have an episode with a monkey in it. Or an ape and or a
Yes,
simian. A
one
simian
of those
of
two
some.
things. Yes.
But seriously, think about it. Okay, think about it. Hey Arnold. We got, Hey Arnold, we have the egg episode and we have the monkey episode.
Sure.
Go to Danny Phantom. We have like the flower thing, and we have we have the flower.
I mean, I'm not that familiar with Danny Phantom, so I'll take your word on it. Sure.
I'm just saying, look at Kim Possible. We have the flower, and we have the monkeys. It's like the bylaws of television with the young protagonist in them.
This also felt like very Ted Turner, like like the whole environmental kind of push.
Entirely possible. So that's what I'm getting at. Feels like there's a little bit of that in there. So anyway, maybe a testing ground for where we would go, because the whole thing of like, hey, we've done some Silver Age, we kind of like it. We're going to see how much we can legitimize the Silver Age stuff, which leads to kind of like, again, this coming before Justice League in terms of production. Justice League is very much trying to legitimize the Silver Age, and we get really good episodes, with the Justice Guild, for example. And then we have eventually.
No, just to be clear, I've liked most of the Silver Age stuff that we've done on this show. Honestly, this is like, for me, this is the one real misfire in that kind of vein of episodes.
Sure. Anyways, and then of course, Raiding the Bold being like where we kind of perfected like how to do the Silver Age. This is kind of a building block of that. But you're right. This one maybe again. This one's kind of in between. It's kind of Silver Agey, but not full on like we're doing a Silver Age thing. It just feels like more Silverback than Silver Age, let's say.
Yeah.
Anyway, so this is again, this is pre-Justice League. So with when we eventually do Gorilla Grodd and Gorilla City. So this is technically the first like sentient gorilla.
That's another thing, is that this villain just very much feels like, yeah, it's Grodd, but not, kind of.
Yeah, and again, they had no idea they would ever do Gorilla Grodd, so that's kind of like, it feels like...
Yeah, but still, I kind of feel like if it's the DC, like, the DC universe at this point, we've had a little bit of crossover. I kind of feel like if we're going to do a talking gorilla that's hyper intelligent, why not just fucking make it Grodd? Honestly, that kind of bugged me.
Well, it's like they barely have a Flash. Like they had the Flash.
No, I understand that. I don't know. Maybe I'm just looking at it in the vein of like, the MCU, where they're constantly crossing over villains that aren't necessarily the main villain for the hero whose movie it is. You know what I mean? Like, we're in another era of crossovers when it comes to comic book stuff.
I'm just saying it's like a hindsight 2020 thing, where like, had they known that they would actually...
I'm going to be dead honest with you, Dragon. I feel like my issues with this episode, if they would have just made it Grodd, I feel like I still have... Like, some of my big issues in this episode, honestly, just kind of come down to pacing, and there's not a lot you can really do about that. But I feel like if it was Grodd, it would at least kind of like add an air of legitimacy to this, I
mean, yeah, but again, there's no way we could do Grodd and have it make sense. And again, Grodd's he's a flashback guy. You don't want him in Batman, let alone Batman Beyond, of all places.
All right, fair enough.
Anyway, my point is, again, hindsight being 2020, it does feel like a thing where, like, had they known eventually they would do full on Grodd and Gorilla City, maybe
the Flash dabbles in time travel. They could find a workaround to it. I don't know.
All right.
Anyways,
so big thing. We had a very special guest star this episode, as Code Geass, anime fan, has pointed out here.
Yep.
Malachi Thorne.
Uh-huh.
Would you like to throw it on the screen, Tiki?
Yep.
There you go. Malachi Thorne coming back for another Batman episode. That's right. Malachi Thorne, fun fact, was Falseface from 60s Batman.
Nice.
The thing was special about Falseface, I mentioned this when we actually had the Batman Beyond version of Falseface. He was, the big thing is that he was uncredited in 60s Batman. It was like the whole thing, the mystery of like, the question, like 3 question marks credited as Falseface. Like they didn't know who it was.
Uh-huh.
And fun fact, I won. I mentioned this to you before. I won the Geekvolution trivia contest with Malachi Thorne.
Oh yeah, I think you have mentioned that. Yeah.
Yes, that's how I get. That's how I get stuck with my name.
Oh God.
Yep. So I kind of owe a lot to Malachi Thorne. Also, so the main reason Kogias anime fan says about another Batman episode is that we've heard him once before in the DCAU.
Uh-huh.
He was the voice of the Judge from the ending of the new Batman Adventures. Two-Face's third personality, the Judge. That was the voice for the Judge was Malcolm Thornton.
Right. Yeah, nice.
There you go. Okay, let's just get into it.
All right. I do like Kogia saying this episode is so mid that both Terry and Fingers refuse to wear the title of the episode on their shirts.
All right.
Oh God, that's a ridiculous observation, but I appreciate it. Right. Okay, yeah, let's just jump right into it then. So like I said, Dragon, a lot of this episode for me, it's not even really about the events that take place. It's more so the pacing, and I don't know, man. I just want to point out, and I'm not going to linger on it, but it's just something I noticed in this episode that I don't know if it's for some reason I'm just noticing it more prominently in this episode, but the music mixing in this episode, like the music compared to the dialogue, the music seemed a little more overpowering in this episode than it usually does, and that was also just really throwing me off. I don't want to dwell on that. It's kind of like a minor technical issue, but for me, it's one of those technical things where, like, once I notice it, it kind of almost distracts from the rest of the thing. So, yeah.
All right, so we have the POV of the gorilla, which is kind of symbolic for the theme of the episode, where we're seeing kind of the gorilla's point of view, kind of like where you're humanizing our gorilla character.
Uh-huh.
So as we kind of see the POV of the gorilla, we then check in with Terry and the gang. Terry, Dana, Max, and of course, most importantly, Howard Groot.
The man, the myth, the legend.
The Groot. He is Groot. Anyway, so yeah, they're going.
Yeah, like I said, this is one of my favorite moments of the whole episode. Honestly, like, we're starting the episode off on a good note with. I mean, seriously, Dragon. This is kind of like eerily like accurate to the times we're living in right now.
I actually had a surreal moment recently. I had a moment exactly like this. I was going past driving past the library, and I used to go to the library way back, and it was just kind of this thing of like. I looked at it, like, I wonder if anyone goes in there anymore.
Oh, God.
Like the building's there, and it's nice, and I like the library, but it's like, does anyone else
Right.
The library now is like a novelty. Like, no one's going to the library. How is it?
It's like a video store. Yeah, it's sad but true. Yeah,
anyway, so that's the thing. So
for me, I will say one thing. For me, my preference will always be physical books. I'm like, if I have to do an audiobook, I will, but I can't get into the e-reader at all. That's just not that is like the last resort for me. I will always prefer a physical book. That being said, I'm sorry, but online shopping has made book shopping so much easier. I remember the days where I just go from bookstore to bookstore, browsing the author that I was interested in and hoping they had the book that I actually wanted. But anyways, I digress.
Yep. All right, so so they're going to the library, but as a novelty, just like the retro vibe of it's a library. You can hold the book in your hand. Dana's very, very passionate about this. Like, I want to hold a book.
About what?
Well, I don't know. Let's find out. So Terry hears a scream, and then we have, honestly, I gotta be honest, this line. Despite how you may feel about this episode, this line always stuck with me. Honestly, even beyond Batman Beyond is like a great Batman moment in general. It's like if you ever wanted to put like a line to Gotham City, this line's just really good.
It is a really good. Like I said, Dragon, this whole scene in front of the library is like the best scene in the episode, hands down. Yeah.
So Terry, was that a scream? This is like, hey, it's Gotham City. It's practically our theme song. Like that's such a great line.
That's a great line.
Like that summarizes it right there. That's Gotham City for you.
And then I also really love this this moment with Max. Like I said, Dragon, this episode gets off on the right foot. It really does.
Yeah, so Max, she covers for Terry. I like the idea this is like somewhat of a rehearsed gambit, where like she just kind of says like, you know what, I'm hungry, and then like she's like,
We
wait a
just had dinner, Max.
minute. So then she's grilling Howard Groot there, just saying like, so what? If you're a real gentleman, you buy me a burger. After all the sodas and Francos I give you at lunch, I thought they were a gift.
Oh my god!
I love the way he says that.
Tiki,
do you remember who voices Howard Groot?
Oh, Seth Green. No, not Seth Green. He voices
Oh,
him,
no,
really, right?
that's
No,
Nelson.
who voices him?
Max Brooks, Mel Brooks' son.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well,
all right. So, yeah, I don't know. Look, like I said, man, my issues with this episode really are more so like I just think it's paced poorly. So we get the gorilla stuff, and I don't know. Take us through it.
Okay, anyway, so again, Terry volunteers to go get the beefy burger.
I feel like I'm going to struggle to voice why I don't really like this episode that much, because on paper, there's really not much that's bad about it anyways.
Anyway, I just really hope your main point isn't just like the music's too loud.
I mean, that was an issue, but no, I don't know, man. It's just something about like this episode just has very much like that kind of after school special vibe that we were talking about. That's my main issue with it, anyways.
Anyway, so Batman's on the scene, sees a grill. He's trying to talk it down, to safely stop it, which is kind of nice to see. And kind of Terry's like, okay, easy, fellow. We're just gonna take this nice and easy. I'm gonna get you back to where you belong. He attempts to hog time, doesn't go well, leads to a chase, and ends up chasing him onto this monorail, which is pretty cool. Basically, we reveal the ape is pretty smart. The ape's like jumping on this monorail, not like clumsily, and like detaching the grappling line, which is really cool. And he gets away, and then we have look. I'm going to admit we do it conveniently. Two zoologists, they finally catch up to him, just like fingers. It's like
right.
It's like my kids.
There's a lot of conveniences in this episode, Dragon, just throughout, honestly. I think that's kind of like, besides the music, that's definitely a big factor.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta wonder.
I also feel like the villain was introduced like too late into the narrative, and the first time we see him, he's introduced in kind of a really clunky way. So yeah, there's just little issues with this episode that kind of like build up. You know what I mean? It's not one big thing.
I mean, I don't know. I kind of like. You're right in terms of like how long we wait to do it, but I do like the introduction of Van Dial. But
I thought it was a little clunky. We'll get into it.
Well, we'll get to it. Regardless, part of me does feel Berkowitz might have been assigned this episode and did what he could with it. I don't know. It feels like there might have been like
that feels like it could very well be the case. I would not.
I don't know. This doesn't really feel like something Berkowitz would pitch, but I don't know. Anyway, also I'd like to think, and this is just my headcanon, I'd like to think of all the names we could have given the ape. Fingers.
Yeah, what's up with that, by the way?
Well, obviously the main reason you go with fingers is, it's like sign language, and it's fingers. It's an ape, just like his kids named the ape. It's like, okay, the ape can probably just do kind of like cool, like I don't know. It's like kid making an observation about the grill, like, oh, look at his cool fingers. But I like to think the deeper cut reason, this is headcanon, mind you, Bill Finger, a little nod to Bill Finger.
Oh yeah. I would like to think that's true as well. For sure.
I'm just saying anyway, because up to this point, again, Bill Finger wasn't like he was a ghost, man. No one knew what that Bill Finger was. Anything Bill Finger's like, he was a footnote. Now we've set the record straight, at least for the most part, on that. Anywho,
Kogias is pointing out that Barbara Gordon should have been running the library because she used to be a librarian.
You remember
that's another thing, is I feel like Barbara Gordon is very much like I usually really like Barbara Gordon's inclusions in this show, but I feel like she's very shoehorned into the end of the episode here.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're a little right about that. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying, Dragon. Really, my issue with this episode more so comes down to
what bothers me. It's
Casey more than anything else. Sorry.
What bothers me more is like she's going to the airport. Why is she going to the airport?
Right. It's like an artificial timer that the writers put on her character for some reason.
Where does she have to go? Anyway, Barbara doesn't go anywhere.
Oh God.
So like Fingers, my kids named him. So they claim that they injected him with something during some testing, and he ran away. So the plan is to net it the next platform. So at the next platform, Fingers.
Here's another issue I have is that we establish we establish this whole DNA thing, and we're thinking that these guys are going to be the bad, but really the whole thing with injecting him with human DNA that's really just kind of like a background thing more than so. I kind of feel like we should have established that more quickly, and then just established the actual villain, or maybe the actual villain was working in conjunction with the DNA people. I don't know.
You're right. That was really coincidental. That's the thing. The Van Dyne doesn't really. Van Dyne, he needs to be kind of like surprised.
Like I said, I like the idea of him as a character for sure. I just feel like the way that they actually execute his role in this episode is pretty clunky.
All right. Anyway, so Fingers he gets off before the train pulls in. Really clever. He avoids the ambush. Batman reports in the Bruce Wayne, who establishes that gorillas, kind of little Bruce Wayne zoology for you. The gorillas don't usually attack unless provoked, but he's not normal. So this is a line that, again, retroactively, I think still works pretty well. I kind of like this, where Bruce Wayne has this line, gorillas are smarter than most people realize, which, again, maybe a little nod to he's tangled with Gorilla Grodd. And
Sure.
We've seen him in Gorilla City, so we know he's been there.
Also, just to throw it out there, so we're not, speculating on it all episode, I think it's fair to say the Great Conroy moment comes at the very end, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can agree on that.
Page. Yeah.
All right.
Of course. Anyways. Again, retroactively, maybe a little tongue-in-cheek nod to Gorilla City. Again, did not know at that time, but it fits now when you look back on it. So, okay.
Sure.
Anyway, so you want to follow it up? Be my guest. So then, of course, we have the gag. I'm sure you appreciate this because it harkens back to the library. Sure, as soon as I buy someone a beefy burger, and we have a silent great comment.
Well, that's another thing. That's another thing with the clunky editing dragon is that we never actually follow up with the library thing beyond that line. Which
we don't. Come on, we don't.
No. I understand that's a nitpick, but I just feel like it's kind of like indicative of the episode as a whole, where plot points are just kind of flying around, and there's not really an element of grounding to them. I don't know.
It is. I think it is just really funny. It's like that Bruce Wayne reaction. Just like, I need to buy someone a beefy burger, and just him like just looking. I'm like, what?
I need to go to the Macho Nacho.
Do you mean Bueno Nacho?
Yes, I'm sorry. I mean Bueno Nacho.
How dare you?
Oh God.
The Macho. I don't know who you are anymore.
Oh Jesus Christ.
Anyway. So, Batman investigates. He finds methyl glycose. Now, by the way, I love the lockpick finger. I love that. With
that
the
gadgetry
cool, and the bat suit, I'm a sucker for it. It does kind of remind me of Inspector Gadget a little bit. So I love that. Anyway, so it's also a bit of a Star Wars now. R2D2's kind of data interface kind of thing. But anyway, so the lockpick finger opens this little cabinet. He's doing some little homage to Batman sneaking around file cabinets and stuff, which is kind of nice, kind of a Batman Beyond version of that. He finds the methyl glycose, which basically we reveal Batman. This is a thing where we have an option of like Bruce Wayne expositing this sort of thing, or we have our zoologist.
Yeah, this was clunky exposition, City Dragon. I'm not gonna lie. And again, I just want to emphasize it's not like this episode has like anything that's like majorly wrong with it. It's just these little moments just add up. You know what I mean? This episode really is like a death by 1,000 cuts kind of thing on why I don't like it, honestly.
So basically between Bruce Wayne and Terry having a bit of conversation and the zoologist here.
Dragon, I would take the Bruce Wayne thing because we already established the slideshow and all. It's it's a well-trodden thing in this series that Bruce Wayne is Mr. Exposition.
Well, regardless, I just want to say I do like the idea. I'm not saying we need both of them, but I do like the idea that Batman, like with the camouflage, he catches him in the act. But again, it is really suspect. They're just going to come in and say their whole not evil plan.
It is so convenient. It is super convenient.
But I mean, still, I do like the cleverness of Batman catching.
No, I always like the camouflage. I always like the camouflage, but just it's I don't know, man. This episode is frustrating.
Okay, so again, it's on the on paper aspect, though. I do like the idea the methyl glycose is the catalyst in splicing. So basically, they spliced in its human DNA. Essentially,
I mean, I do like the world building of the splicing. I think it is one of the stronger elements of world building in Batman Beyond. I'll say that much.
Well, that's the thing. I like that we reverse engineered the splice. I think that's a really neat idea. Like in terms of what, because we've always seen the humans getting animal DNA, but we've never really thought about what happens if you put it in the other way. So that's to me is the best element of the episode, like that logic, and then seeing the result with our ape character. To me, that's the strength of the episode.
Sure.
But you're right. The plot of the episode is the weak sauce thing. Unfortunately, again, like the sell of the episode, the Silver Age element of the episode, I think played
on its own. On its own, this is a premise that I should like more than I do. Honestly, I agree with you.
Anyways, basically the ape so again, logic wise, they smartened up the ape so they could get a grant, so they can basically get it smart enough so their funding wouldn't be cut like that. Okay, that's a believable reason to get our ape plot here. Okay, didn't need it like spelled out. Like, okay, we got to make sure we get rid of it before.
Dragon, I'm just gonna throw this out there right now because if I don't, I feel like I'm burying the lead on it. There's one particular scenario involving a fucking taxi cab driver in this episode. That is just utterly ridiculous, and we will get there when we get there. But it is utterly fucking ridiculous.
All right, well, we'll get there. So, I want to highlight some with Terry though. I love that Terry, via Batman here. He has like a great kind of noir detective vibe about him. This episode where he's like, he's kind of like doing some detective tough talk here as Batman. Like, so what? Add a few signs. Is that what you're trying to do to him? Like that was kind of neat. Anyway, so he went berserk after the first injection. So now Smart Girl's on the loose that is getting smarter. So got some Planet of the Apes vibes going on, which is kind of neat.
A little bit.
Again, with the sell of the episode, I just kind of like the Planet of the Apes component. Anyway, so the poor this is funny. This is a running gag. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. This poor subway guy, like the elevating subway, that we have established in Batman Beyond. This guy was in like the episode Terminal, the episode where we introduce Max. Anyways, in that episode, we had this thing where this poor guy on the subway is being harassed by jokers.
Oh yeah, I do remember him. Yeah.
Every time we see this guy, he's like a reused model. So every time we see this guy, he's like, nothing good ever happens to this poor guy. He's just trying to eat it. I love this. He's like watching the news on like the big courtyard TV in the park, and he's just like having his coffee or something. Just like again, very Temple Fugit-esque.
His model is like vaguely Alfred-esque.
Well, it's
like
more like
vaguely.
Temple. It's less Alfred, more he looks like Clock King before he became Clock
King. A little bit, yeah.
With black hair. So this is average Joe, just trying this very Dan Reba of a guy, just trying to have his little snack and just like watch the news, and then he's like, oh, it's a cute little white leopard, from Africa. So, anyways, again a little here's the thing: it's exposition, but I like the thematic.
There's almost a little bit of a shade, not nearly to the same level, but a little bit of a shade of the Cabbage Man.
Little bit. So regardless, this poor subway guy, he's watching the news in the park where he learns, which of course leads to our kind of our gorilla jump scare here. But not jump scare, but the gorilla walking up behind him. The broadcast introduces James Van Dyne, who is this conservationist in quotes, who found a baby white leopard that was abandoned by its mother. So what I like about this is the fact that we see Van Dyne, we set up the guy that this ape has a grudge against, and we say that we showed the hypocrisy of this guy. This guy's like, oh yeah, he's claiming to save these animals that have been abandoned by their mothers, when of course in reality he has done the exact opposite. So that.
So I guess my one issue here is that I feel like it's just a little bit convenient that they're just like that. There's like literally like an exposition on the main bad guy in the episode, like in the middle of a public setting. Yeah. But you know what? Like compared to some of the stuff that we're going to be getting into specifically with that taxi guy, I'll give it a pass. I don't really have that much of a problem.
Like, I don't disagree with you, but I do like how it just I like what is said during this. You're right. It does come out of it's very convenient.
It kind of reminds me of I only saw Multiverse of Madness the one time in theaters, I'm not gonna lie. But it kind of reminds me of that one time where it's like in Multiverse of Madness, from what I remember about it, we go to that one dimension and it's literally like laid out like, hey, this is a TV broadcast of exactly what this dimension's about. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. I'm kind of struggling to think what you're talking about, Tiki.
I don't fuck. Okay, I'm
That's
sorry.
the thing. I don't really think there's like a whole broadcast. Like I mean, we did have like a really straightforward walkthrough of like the main dimension we were
I
in.
think that's it's. I just remember something in that movie where it's just like very very clunky, convenient exposition. So what would be in that movie that I'm thinking of?
I think you're just thinking of like like Doctor Strange just getting the walkthrough of the the new dimension. Like
all right, well, you know what? Forget like I said, I kind of preface that with the fact that I've only seen the movie the one time. So forget I mentioned that. Moving on.
Anyway, so you might be also thinking of like the council, just like the Illuminati's.
No, I'm definitely not thinking of that. I don't know.
Well, I just mean like when they were like walking through it. Here's what happened with Doctor Strange. Okay, so back to the episode. The big reveal here of our act break is that again the Van Dyal, like he speaks for the first time. The ape speaks after we've established the ape. The ape is intelligent. He's getting smarter, and he's seeing the man that presumably has done some bad stuff to him. So Van Dyal, he wants this guy. Okay, so Batman intercepts Fingers as he's like walking down the street, kind of causing a little bit of havoc there, and he's. Bruce is warning him, if he came out of hiding, he probably came out of hiding for a good reason. All right, so we have this little fight on the construction site here. He's kind of like Batman's trying to cloak himself, but he can see the animal can smell him. So it kind of, I like that as a weakness to the cloaking, by the way. All these animals can smell him.
Yeah, that is a cool conceit. I kind of wish we would have used that more.
And we've kind of established it a little bit, and we have it a couple times in the episode here. So I don't know. It's been established. Anyway, so we have this thing like, why? He says like, you can talk. So Batman's kind of contending with Fingers here, but this is really the best thing about this episode I can say is we do smarten Terry up in that Terry is as Batman's. He oddly, again, not through a human character, mind you, but he is, he's able to talk him off the ledge more this episode. He's kind of forming a bit of a,
I do agree that Terry's role in the episode is the best component of it. I do like that whole element of him. It's kind of an unconventional situation for him to be in, and it's cool to see him kind of navigate it. I'll give you that much.
Seeing him proactively try and de-escalate the situation, like very Batman stuff here, which is
sure.
Terry's really coming around here. He's coming into his own our last season.
And I'll give you this much. I think this flashback is probably the best overall sequence of the episode. It's nothing mind-blowing, but it's effective.
Also, something we can't really do with Bruce Wayne, where he says, like, you have a mother? I don't. Like that kind of thing, where it's like, what gets us to the flashbacks is the fact that he's kind of like having some common ground with Terry, so to speak. Anyway, so yes, we have the flashback of Fingers and his mother in Africa, and basically Van Dyal and his poachers. They show up, they capture the mom, and then they capture Fingers, and they separate them, and it's really not nice.
Yeah, to say the least.
Yeah. It's very sad stuff. He sold to the university, experimenting on. It's a really heady thing that he can kind of verbalize all this now. So Ape being able to verbalize his trauma, like that's a really good idea.
Sure.
All right, so Batman explained. This is what I'm talking about. I'm loving our Silver Age kind of conceit here, where Batman's explained the concept of justice to the ape. That Van Dyal's an outlaw. He should be behind bars, not you. Just give me some time. Let me get him. It's just like don't you want him to stop him from doing this to other apes? I love this too. Finger doesn't necessarily want to kill Van Dyal. He just wants his mother, and he'll beat the crap out of this guy to find out where his mother is. That's all he wants. He just wants to find his mother, which is heartbreaking, All
right, Kogias has a few comments here. He says, imagine if Fingers got his own spinoff film that was set in the Planet of the Apes franchise. I'm not sure about a spin-off film, but I certainly could see him like fitting in as just like a character in one of those movies for sure. Kraven the Hunter was used instead of Van Dyal. Did you hear the BS that Sony's trying to spin about Kraven the Hunter?
I did.
I'm like, no, just what the fuck? Anyways, that's.
I will say it again. Amy Pascal doesn't care about Spider-Man.
It's like August is the appropriate time to release a movie like that. Just I am probably not going to even see it, but August would have been the time, anyways.
Tiki, in a just world, that's the movie we would have blocked. Okay, we would have released like a.
And by the way, I feel like the Fall Guy kind of Aaron Taylor Johnson, man. I feel like Aaron Taylor Johnson is like my personal Ben Schwartz. It's like I just do not respond to that dude.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So let's see. So Terry, he convinces him to basically give him a chance to bring Van Dyne in so they can stop him. So he gives Batman until dawn. So there's a ticking clock at play.
This is another issue I have with the episode, Dragon, is that Fingers is just hanging out on the skyscraper for like a big part of the second act.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of like the big thing I'm sort of talking about with the pacing, honestly.
I have a different pet peeve.
Okay.
It's the fact that why doesn't he wait until dawn?
Right.
It's not even a thing where here's the thing with the GCPD, they come by.
I feel like all the really heinous elements of this episode kind of stem from this one plot point, right?
Yeah, the GCP they show up and it's not even like a thing where we've spotted the ape and then he has to move.
Right. No, yeah.
He just he very easily hide. They look for him and it's like they're not actively looking for him. It's like, hey, we're just going on patrol, and he just hitches a ride. It's like, really? They couldn't like find him for a second, then it motivates him. Well, I'm out now.
Oh man.
Okay, anyway, so Terry, this is a little nice beat here. So Terry recognizes the animal wildlife way station from a trip that he took with his dad once, with Warren McGinnis, and he's like, my dad took me here once, and
very much shades of SeaWorld here for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Like Bruce kind of makes you cynical, doesn't it? It's a runner-up for the Great Conroy.
Yeah, it is.
It's a runner-up. No contest, but it's a runner-up.
Uh-huh.
All right. So, but also, you know what I like about that line, though? It's the fact that it's the thing that there's always. I love the conceit of Gotham City, where there's like tragedy under every surface of Gotham. Like everything that looks kind of nice on from a surface level is simple. There's something under there that got us that,
Sure.
There's the idea that even like this, like a wildlife kind of like a way station preserved kind of place, it's like, and there's poaching going on. That's Gotham for you.
Okay, I'm just as an aside to that, I'm kind of. You've never been to Vegas, right?
I have been to Vegas, too.
You have. Okay,
I disappeared with a magician on stage in Vegas.
Oh dear. Oh, okay. So, Dragon, Vegas is very much a town like that, where it's like. You've got all this shiny shit, like all this, like, these thematic touches and larger than life elements. But man, when you're in that town, it feels so fucking seedy. Like, I don't know, man. That vibe, that was one of the elements of Vegas I did not respond to. That, like, kind of like undercurrents of seediness throughout the whole place.
Yeah. It's only safe in the casinos, my friend.
Yeah, but the thing with the casinos is that I could not stand that smoke smell, man. It really got. Anyways, this is not a Vegas trip report.
Anyway, so all right, okay, so let's see. We have Batman observing a flunky, like removing a transmitter from a gorilla, which basically establishes that these are preserved gorillas that have been basically kidnapped, and they remove the chips so they can't be tracked, which means these are protected by law. Let's call Barbara Gordon. Yeah. So anyway, so as it's in the works, Van Dyne, his eyepiece, spots Batman. Batman gets tasered a lot in this episode, like a lot. And at a certain point, it makes you wonder, like, could we make the suit rubber? It's like,
right.
So yeah, Batman gets tasered here. He gets knocked out. Van Dyne, he has he makes sure all the evidence is destroyed, as well as Batman.
So this leads to like one of the more ridiculous plot points in the episode is that Van Dyne is like, "Fuck it, let's feed him to the lions."
Yeah, it's very 60s Batman.
It's very 60s Batman.
Anyway, so while that's going on, real quick, because you wanted to talk about this,
oh my god, yeah, this, I don't even know if I can be mad about it because it's so ridiculous.
I thought it was funny. I liked it. You know, I like the idea that so he hitches, ignoring how he gets there, which is like okay, so he hitches a ride in the GCP just for reasons, just for plot. He clings on to like Gotham Studios, which is I look at the logo, looks like the Warner Brothers logo.
That was a cool little nod to the water tower, yeah.
So this, I don't know, it's almost like a Blazing Saddles gag. I kind of like love the idea that the ape like comes down there and he comes out of the studio very clearly, and the cab driver thinks, okay, he's an actor for the studio, he's in an ape costume. Like it's just like, oh, it must be hot in there. You get used to it. Like I don't know, I thought that was funny.
Nah, I just couldn't buy it. I just like
Why?
there's why? Because the dude is like he's a gorilla dragon. It's not a guy in a gorilla suit, clearly.
But he's coming out of the movie studio. This guy probably picks people up here all the time.
I don't know. It was pretty ridiculous to me.
All right. Anyway, so Bruce calls.
It's the fact that he doesn't realize it at all until the gorilla gets in his face and growls at him.
Well, again, it's like a been there, seen. It's kind of a been there, done that, seen them all. You know.
I mean, I understand the comedy of it. It's just like it's just one of the. Here's another thing with this episode is that I feel like totally it's all over the place because, you know, we've got a very earnest storyline with him trying to track down his mother, but then we've also got like just really ridiculous elements like this. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like the episode would be better if it picked a lane one way or another. If it was going to be like a, you know. It would be a better episode if it was either lead all the way into like the goofy 60s Batman Silver Age kind of thing, or lead all the way into kind of like the you know, the very special episode conservation kind of thing. But because it's kind of like a mix of the two, it's just sort of all over the place.
It is kind of like in two worlds in that regard, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so
I don't think I really mentioned. I briefly mentioned it, but I just want to say, I really do like the design of Van Dyel. I think he's a great design.
Well, it's literally a mustache with an eyepiece. You know, he looks very big game. You know, he's literally a mustache twirler. All right, so Bruce calls Barbara. And he's concerned about Terry. Which, by the way, in this episode, I'm not going to count it because he has a casual. He has like a Terry, just very, you know, it's not
You're
like
not going to count the Terry. I was wondering about.
I don't. Would you want? Do you want to count it?
I would count it. Yeah.
Okay, if we count it, then it's 18. Okay, if we're going to count this Terry, then it's going to be 18. It seems very casual though. It seems very like
it is probably the most casual one that we've got it, but it is a single exclamation of his name.
Okay. All right, so we're at 18 then.
All
right, so anyway, so you know, Batman wakes up in the lion's den. Finger scares.
Yeah, this is just straight out of 60s Batman, man. This is kind of ridiculous.
In both regards, you know, Batman just, you know, so waking up in the lion's den. And I love it's so weird that Van Dyel and his guys are such jerks that they're laughing. Hey, Bat's gonna be in the lion. Let's watch it. Yeah.
And here's another thing about Van Dyel, I will say, is that, like, again, I really like the premise of his character. That being said, I feel like he's, like, in order for the actual premise of his character to be effective, I really feel like he should have been, like, more three-dimensional. Like, he should have been that much of a mustache twirler. You know what I mean? I really feel like, A, we should have introduced him earlier. That's, you know, because we're only working with a 20-minute framework here, and he doesn't get introduced until around the halfway mark. And B, I feel like we should have seen at least one or two moments of him beyond the TV exposition where he's publicly facing is like a Jeff Corwin type. You know what I mean?
Right.
I just feel like we're kind of lacking that with him.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so we have the cabbie gag where, you know, he's just like, hey, where's my creds? And he just shows up there and he scares him. Which, by the way, Code Geass does bring up, you know, the zookeeper comparison. You remember the zookeeper, don't you?
Of course, I remember zookeeper.
It's actually seeing it's like the scene in Zookeeper where the titular zookeeper takes a gorilla to TGI Fridays and tells the waitress the guy in the costume. Yeah, it's funny. The movie has its charms. It does. a few moments, not a lot.
I've never watched it.
You just told me you did.
No, I remember it. I remember it existing. I never actually saw it.
Well, I did. It had a few moments, but that's about it.
Oh.
But live this way: the best part of that movie is the friendship between Kevin James and the Nick Nolte gorilla. That's the best.
Fair enough.
That's the best element of that. Also, Stallone is a lion. It's pretty fun.
I'm sure it's better than Doolittle, at least.
Yes, Tiki. It's far better than Doolittle. Dear God, man.
All right.
Anywho.
Thank God Robert Downey Jr. actually bounced back and won an Oscar after that movie, right?
By the way, have you watched Sympathizer yet?
No.
Okay, anyway.
It's on my watch list for sure. I need to get around to
likely story.
I know. I need to get around to it. And this
Anyway.
one with my TV, it's kind of getting muddied up because I'm just kind of addicted to Always Sunny right now.
Right.
That show is very bingeable.
Did you get to the rum ham yet?
No. You know what I actually just saw that I think is probably my favorite episode so far in the I'm almost to the end of season 4 is Dennis Reynolds, an exotic or an erotic life.
Oh, right, yes.
Oh man, that episode with fucking Sinbad. Oh god, that killed me. Anyways.
Okay. All right. So let's see. So Van Dyne and company are watching get eaten by lions. Finger saves the day, tossing lions around. Like there's a lot of gunfire. Batman evens the odds. Tear gas takes out the henchmen. GCPD arrive. Then you have just Babs kind of shoehorned in there, just like, yeah, Van Dyne, I got a call about some illegal activity going on here, and it's basically his word against Batman's because he destroyed all the evidence. And then this is a pretty cool. This is the big payoff. Like, okay, so the whole of the Van Dyne stuff, which again, you're right. There's not a lot there aside from that, but our payoff's kind of nice here, where he's like, he thinks he's got the law on his side, and then the victim of his crime shows up that can actually speak up. It's kind of a nice moment there. The ape shows up. He's like, I'm the proof. You kidnapped me, my mother too, you miserable liar. And I just love the surreal moment for Van Dyne here of just like he's like what is happening? It's like this ape is he's absolutely right. He's screwing me over. How is this happening? Anyway, so he tries to flee. He tases Batman again. Fingers though he grabs Van Dyne. And this is great though. Like this is him like grabbing Van Dyne saying, "Where is my mother?" And he's just like, I mean, I don't know. I probably sold her. He's like, I don't keep track of them. But I love that Malachi Thorne's kind of channeling his inner D'Onofrio here. Very much like the way D'Onofrio and Daredevil said, "It was my mother."
Right, a little bit, yeah.
It was my mother. She was just like another gorilla to me. So this is great. This is Terry's big moment here. Batman Beyond finally reaches his first. Can't talk somebody off the ledge in a big way here. So it's kind of a first for Terry. The whole, yeah, sure, kill him. It's what a human would do. So, I'm not human. Well, you're certainly not a gorilla anymore. Talks him off the ledge by like compare him to humanity. Yes, very nice moment. Good Batman moment. I like that. So Van Dyne does not get beheaded. He does not get killed by Fingers. Fingers.
Okay, you know what? I do want to mention this though. There is one moment where he Fingers like slams Van Dyne up against the tree, right?
Yeah.
There's like this bark that flies off of the tree, and I literally had to like rewind to make sure that wasn't blood. So yeah, he does rough up Van Dyne quite a bit.
As he should. I mean, he sold his mother.
Right.
All right, so then we have our really good ending. Our ending's really good. You got to give it.
I honestly kind of wish we would have drawn it out a little bit more because yeah, you're right. It is really good.
I think this ending's exactly what we need it to be. We're in Africa, which is it's always weird to take Bruce Wayne out of Gotham, but we're in Africa.
I honestly feel like this is one of the places where it actually felt right, to tell you the truth. Just because I really like the idea of Bruce Wayne is there specifically to like help make amends with this gorilla.
Yeah.
Like he's kind of there on humanity's behalf. I know that sounds cheesy, but I don't really know how else to put it.
So Bruce offers him basically to remove the human DNA, the human DNA in him using this injector. He offers to remove his intelligence and the kind of the curse of this intelligence. And he says, "No, I want to remember, that I'm strong as a gorilla, I'm smart as a human, and the other poachers are going to have to deal with me. So that's great. So then we have this perfect moment where Terry points out, like, well, he knows who we are, and Bruce Wayne isn't concerned at all, and we have the great Conroy moment to end out the episode. Says, he's a kindred spirit if I've ever seen one. So that I love that line so much, and it's so great because it's like this ape's on a mission. He's becoming a kind of a vigilante, on behalf of the apes. He's very much like he's become a Batman for the apes. And Bruce sees the loss in this guy. He's probably never going to find his mother again. It's not death, but I mean, for all he has no idea, But it's the fact that
I do like that we leave it really open ended. I feel like it would have been really convenient to just have the mother show up in the jungle.
But while the episode's confused in the execution, the themes are there, and the themes of like there are no band-aid solutions. Like there's no band-aid. Like this guy's he's lost his mother. He's cursed with this intelligence. But he's soldiering on through with the trauma, and that's essentially the link to Batman. Where this guy, he's like, we can't band-aid solution all the loss and trauma that Bruce Wayne has. He has to go on, and we've kind of paralleled that in this ape, and I really like that.
Sure.
So that's great.
All right. Well, I mean, final thoughts, Dragon. Again, there's individual elements of this episode that I do really like, but as a whole, you kind of get my point where it's not that there's any one particular element in this episode that's really bad. It's just I really do feel like this is a death by 1,000 cuts sort of thing where there's enough about this episode that just kind of feels off. I will say this. After we talk through it, especially with the ending being as good as it is, I'm kind of backing off of it being like one of the worst episodes of the series. But man, it really feels like one of the ones where it's just I don't really know what happened as far as like I truly feel like they could have made it great if they would have like given it another go or two, like in the script department. I don't know. I feel like maybe Burke was given this at the last minute. I totally agree with you that it feels like something that he was assigned to, and it also feels like it was something that he didn't really have a lot of time to cook on. But the ideas are still there, and he does manage to get some good elements out of it. So yeah, overall pretty mixed.
Yeah, again, look, this is definitely not an eye-catching episode of Batman Beyond, but again, it's like one of those episodes that kind of like when you go through the episodes, like for a moment, it's like speak no evil. Which one's that? And then you remember, like oh right, this is the Gorilla episode, and it's like you have those moments where like the whole you always forget that Gotham City line, it's Gotham City, it's our theme song. It's like oh yeah, it's from that episode, and then you have like that. Then you remember like yeah, we do have like that great kind of Batman kind of like kind of like talking the ape off the ledge, and then that really good ending. So there are moments that do stick out and do like, man, those are really solid. It's like, I don't know, it's an episode that does not have a lot going on, plot wise, or really just kind of. It's not dazzling, but it does have does have truly redeeming moments to it, but not enough to really save the episode in the grand scheme. But definitely not like the worst Batman Beyond's turned out.
Oh,
It's no Centuries of the Last Cosmos.
Oh God! Okay, yeah, very good point. Very good point.
Tiki could always be Centuries of the Last Cosmos. Okay.
All right. Okay. Thanks to Kogios for joining us in the chat as always, and yeah, take us out, Dragon.
Heroes dropping like flies. A reunion of the world's finest. A call for justice. League, that is. Can Batman solve the mystery of a traitor in the ranks? Will the Justice League's future be cut short? Tune in next time to find out. Same animated bat time, same animated bat place.
On the next visit to Batcave Beyond with The Call, Part 1. Gorilla!
Go